Hi, everyone. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our unit on life. Things that we need to know in order to survive and live as long as we can. And, of course, in life, we've got to have money, okay? Everybody seems to be existing for the sake of money. If you don't have money, you can't survive. But if you don't manage your money well, you could lose it all and end up living under a bridge.
Yeah, I've learned over time that how much money you have or make isn't really the important part of your financial situation. It's really how well you manage or take care of the money that you do have. We've read these stories about some old man or old lady. They had a very low-paying job their whole life, but they saved everything. And so when they died, they had over $1 million that they gave away. Managing your money is a really important lesson. I think they should teach this in school. They should start perhaps in junior high and teach the kids how to manage their money and why it's important because a lot of kids, especially those who start going to college, they get credit cards pretty easily now. And they get themselves into debt and then they have to pay off a big credit card debt. And, that's no fun and it's very stressful to have debt. So, we're going to talk about managing your money and how to track it, which is really great.
Yeah, we've got something specifically called expense tracking or, creating a personal budget for yourself. So let's find out what this is all about. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson one time. Some days, you might look at your bank account and wonder where your money went. However, with good habits, you can stay on top of your spending. The key to monitoring your finances is tracking daily expenses. If you do this consistently for a few months, you'll be able to identify your spending habits. Start by creating a budget, including expected income and categories of your expenses. A basic guide is the 50-30-20 approach. Spend 50% on needs, housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, and 30% on wants, entertainment, dining out, new clothes. The remaining 20% goes towards savings or debt repayment. Next, record every expense in the correct budget category. There are numerous methods to choose from. You could use pencil and paper to log your expenses in a notebook. You could also use the envelope system by putting the cash you expect to spend on each category in its own envelope every month. Spend from each envelope until it's empty. If you prefer digital solutions, Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets offer spreadsheet templates to make expense tracking simple. A more portable method is a mobile expense tracking app like Fortune City, Ahorro, or CW Money. With these, you can set spending targets and easily see if you're spending as much money as you'd planned to. Although expense tracking takes discipline, it doesn't have to be intimidating. Stick to it and gain control over your financial future.
Okay, guys, let's dive in. Manage your money with expense tracking. So we kind of explained at the beginning why it's important to have a budget for yourself. And that's exactly what this is. It's just, budgeting your money and then following your own spending habits and writing them down. If you're a dieter, you like to diet a lot. Some people track the food that they eat and count their calories. This is similar, but you're just tracking your own money and the things that you're buying with your money. An expense is something that costs you whatever it is. It could be, I have lots of expenses every month. I have my living expenses, for example, my apartment, my gas and water, electricity, things like that. But tracking just means you carefully follow something. Now, some people have jobs where all they do is track somebody. Maybe they're hired to be a private eye or a private investigator, and they need to find out what this person is up to or what they're doing. So they will track somebody or follow somebody carefully. You're going to be following the money that you spend.
Yep, you want to keep track of your money to figure out where you're spending it and to learn things about your spending habits. So let's begin with the first paragraph here. It says, some days you might look at your bank account and wonder where your money went. Boy, does this sound familiar.
Yeah.
Okay. Every time I take my bank book down to the bank and have it scanned or printed out or updated, I always look at the figure there and I go, is that all? Where did the money go? What are we spending our money on? I thought we were quite frugal. I thought we were being very careful with our expenses. But yeah, you might look at your bank account or your bank book there and wonder where the money went and why you don't have as much money as you thought you should have.
Yeah, Tom used a really good word there in relation to your money and your budgeting and your expenses, and that's frugal. If someone's frugal, F-R-U-G-A-L, just means they're very, very careful with the money they spend. They try not to spend too much. And if there's a sale, they'll probably go and buy something they need when there's a sale rather than just buy it when they want it. So sometimes it pays to actually wait and save your money and then buy something rather than put it on a credit card. So some days, I have that experience. You think, where did my money go? Like somebody else is spending it for you. Nope. So we're going to talk about some good habits. Here it says with good habits, you can stay on top of your spending. If you stay on top of something, guys, just means you're always aware of what's happening. You're current. You never fall behind. That's the opposite to stay on top of or to fall behind or get behind. You want to stay on top of your homework. If you fall behind, it seems like you'll never catch up. Ever. So stay on top of your spending. Know what you're spending. Just don't blindly buy things because, wow, that dress looks pretty. I want that. Or, wow, I need that new video game today. So you have to stay on top of your spending.
Indeed. And you could also say keep on top of things. Or again, to keep ahead of your spending, to keep track of their all related terms here. So yeah, you want to have your spending under control. And the key to monitoring your finances is tracking daily expenses or keeping track of your daily expenses. Maybe you have to write everything down, carry a special little notebook or something. And every time you go to 7-Eleven and buy a soda or something, you got to write it down, write down what it is. And then go back home at night and then enter it into the computer or whatever, and then look at what you've done over the entire month. So yeah, you need to monitor your finances, keep track of them by doing this every day. Now, finances, of course, refer to how you finance things, where you get the money to pay for things. So basically, finances here is just referring to how you spend your money.
Yeah, the money you use in your life. So if you do this consistently for a few months, you'll be able to identify your spending habits. Some people are really unaware that they spend so much every day. Maybe they're buying a lot of, cups of coffee. That adds up very quickly. Now, if you do something consistently, guys, it just means you do something again and again and you don't change that action. And here we're, of course, using the adverb form. You do something consistently. But you could also say, I want to be consistent with tracking my expenses so that I know where I'm spending my money. So consistent is the adjective. Consistently is the adverb. You do something consistently.
Right. I could say, for example, it rained consistently for 7 days last week. It rained all week, every day, one after the other, without stopping.
Now, the difference between consistently, though, Tom, and constantly means you just do it without stopping. I think consistent is more regular. You don't give up on something because usually you're trying to achieve something. So if you consistently study before tests, you'll probably do better than if you don't study consistently or just do it every once in a while.
You've got to make this a habit for sure. And so if you do this without stopping and you don't miss any days and you do this for a few months, you'll be able to identify your spending habits, how you spend your money, and you might see some surprises in there. Gee, do I really spend that much money on going out to restaurants? Or I don't spend as much money as I thought I did on clothes. I thought I spent a lot of money there. So yeah, this is a good way to try to figure out exactly how you spend your money. So let's again continue talking about expense tracking. Here in the next paragraph it says, start by creating a budget, including expected income and categories of your expenses. So yeah, we've got this budget here, which basically is a list of all the things you think you're going to spend your money on and how much money you're giving yourself to spend. Okay, so I make maybe 100,000 NT dollars a month, so I'm going to spend 50% of that on paying back my house mortgage or whatever. You can decide there. You basically balance between your income and what you spend things on. You make a list of those things. That's what your budget is.
Yeah, some people go over their budget, meaning they spend too much on a particular category, maybe like movies or food. Maybe you finally discover that you've been spending way too much money on transportation. You take too many cabs or taxis. So it's a good way to see where your money's going. But that budget should keep you from spending too much in a particular category. A category is just a way to classify things, to divide things into groups according to some of their characteristics. Categories of movies would include action films and comedies and dramas. There are lots of ways to make categories. So it's just clearer what you need. So you might have in your budget a category that just says, rent and living expenses. And maybe that includes things you have to pay for every month that are pretty I don't know, they don't change. They're pretty consistent. A dollar amount doesn't change very often. But we're going to talk more about maybe setting up this budget. But right now, guys, we're going to listen quickly to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。大家不晓得会不会跟我一样啊，每次到了月底之后啊，打开这个皮夹就不知道钱到底都花到哪里去了呢？如果你也有这样的困扰，今天这个课文蛮适合你的哦。因为如果我们不知道自己的钱都花到哪里，其实或许可以好好的记个账。在英文当中，这个记账的记啊，这个动词可以用 track。T-R-A-C-K 也就是追踪的意思。那我们平常日常生活的消费啊，你可以用 spending S-P-E-N-D-I-N-G 或者是 expense E-X-P-E-N-S-E expenses 开销通常都会用复数。所以我们真的有好习惯，也就是记账，我们就可以控制一下开销。那么在这一段的第一段呢，第三句的地方，我们先看到句首有一个 The key to monitoring your finances is tracking daily expenses。我们关键在这个 key， 在这里不是钥匙哦，而是做一件事情最重要的关键。而重点在后面的 TO2 呢，是个介系词 The key to something， The key to doing something。像英文当中类似的这个用法，还有 solution。解决方法，什么的解决方法呢？问题 problem 的解决方法 The solution to a problem， 或者是到一个地方的某一条道路 The way to a place。 这个时候中文都翻成的，可是英文都会用介系词的 TO2， 因为它是一种应对的关系。所以如果我们可以把每天的支出呢都记录下来，而且连续好几个月都这么做的话，就可以 identify，就可以辨认出发现自己的消费习惯哦。所以第二段呢，我们要来看一下到底要怎么样来建立好一个消费习惯。首先要设立一个预算 budget， 也就是说我们大概会有多少的支出，这个所谓预期的 expected income， 还有我们支出的类别 category 大概是有哪一些。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's continue talking about expense tracking. And where we left off, we were saying that you should start by creating a budget where you're going to list your expected income and then categories of your expenses, okay? What types of expenses do you have? Like, are you spending money on transportation, on entertainment, on paying your rent, on food, etc.? Those are different categories. A basic guide is the 50-30-20 approach. Now, for both of us here, for Stephanie and myself, this is the first time that we've heard of this, and this might be useful, but also you should probably adjust these numbers according to your own living habits and your situation there. But let's find out what this basic guide of 50-30-20 all about. First of all, it says spend 50% on needs. Okay, needs are things that you need, such as housing, utilities, groceries, and transportation, and maybe some other things that you can think of. Housing, of course, refers to your rent or your loan repayment
your
if you've got a mortgage, etc. Your utilities would be your water, your gas, your electricity, and maybe your internet service or whatever, your cable TV. Also, groceries when you go to the market and pick stuff up and bring them home. Also, transportation. How much money are you spending on buses or taxis or gasoline for your car or your scooter? Yeah, you can list all those things in this category of needs.
Yeah, Tom mentioned something during the break that's interesting. In Taiwan, a lot of people eat out rather than cook at home. So maybe instead of groceries, you could just put eating out, because it's an expense that you have every month. So 30% is going to go on your wants, and those would be things you don't have to live. You just want it because it's great and fun. Like entertainment could be your movies and video games that you want to buy. So whatever your entertainment includes, it just means things that make you happy, that bring you pleasure and enjoyment. There are lots of things you can do for entertainment. Dining out, because we're in Taiwan and people dine out so often, you might move that into your needs. And then new clothes, that's probably for the women more than the guys, because guys forget sometimes that maybe getting a new shirt or pair of pants would be fun. But we think about clothes a lot. Now, the remaining 20% then goes toward savings or debt repayment. Remember I talked about having a credit card? Be careful with those credit cards, especially if you're young and you're not used to it. You probably think it's like free money, but it is not. You have to repay the money that you put on the card. And I know that that's a problem around the world. So repayment just means paying back something that you already spent. So you're actually borrowing money from that credit card company, and then your repayment is to pay them back for the money that you borrowed initially, or, whenever you bought something. So that repayment is pretty important.
We should also mention that this article was written by an American. So these numbers might apply to Americans in their situations, but you could change these numbers for Taiwan here. As you mentioned, people eat out here more often, and a lot of times people live with their parents longer than Americans do.
True.
So housing expenses would be somewhat different there. So yeah, you have to kind of adjust this to your local lifestyle here in Taiwan, and also adjust it according to where you're living. Do you live in Taipei or do you live in Puli? Okay, things are going to be different in those different places. But yeah, as you said, repayment means you're paying something back. Right now, for example, my wife and I are paying back a loan for our car. I think we still have maybe 4 or 5 months to go, and then the car is completely ours.
Paid for. Yeah,
it'll be completely paid for, and then we can sell it and buy another one if we want to, but we'd like to keep this car running as long as possible. But here in the next paragraph it says, next, record every expense in the correct budget category. So you've established those categories. Now all you need to do is record every expense in those categories. If you go out to eat, we went to have huoguo, we went to have hot pot, okay? We spent, $600 NT on that, okay? Right write that in the food category. Oh, we took the bus to Kaohsiung last week to visit my cousin and my uncle down there. Okay, that was on one of those long-distance buses, and that was like $400 for the tickets, etc. You would write that in the category of transportation, etc., etc.
Yeah, so there are numerous methods to choose from. There are lots of different ways you can actually track your expenses. You don't have to just, stick with one way. So here are some ideas. You could use a pencil and paper. Go the old-fashioned way and just use a pencil and a piece of paper, draw your categories on it, and then mark things down. If you log something, it just means you make note of something. It could be. You could also use the envelope system. Oh, I've seen this before. Little kids tend to use this more. You could use the envelope system by putting the cash you expect to spend on each category in its own envelope every month. And then you just use that cash, and when the money's gone from that envelope, no more buying new clothes or no more new entertainment. You've gone over. You can't spend any more. That's an interesting idea.
Or you maybe have to make a loan from another envelope or something. I guess you need to decide.
You could borrow from yourself.
Yeah, but you have to pay it back later on.
Yes.
And, of course, you spend until each envelope is empty. I kind of do something myself there. I put money in an envelope, like each time I get paid, maybe put $1,000 in there. And then when that builds up, I can use that to buy myself a new toy, like a new bicycle or something like that. So let's go on here to the next sentence. It says, if you prefer digital solutions instead of pencil and paper, you want to do it on your phone or your computer, well, Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets offer spreadsheet templates to make expense tracking simple. So if you talk about something digital, that's usually referring to computers.
Now, this is exactly what I do. Microsoft Excel, of course, it's a pretty complicated piece of software, but you don't have to use all of the cool functions in Excel. Just use a simple way to track and log your expenses. Google Sheets also offers spreadsheet templates. This word templates can also be pronounced templates. I tend to say templates. They're both correct. So a more portable method, and this is probably what is going to catch the eye of a lot of our listeners. If it's portable, it means it's easy to take around or carry around with you. A desktop computer is not portable. A laptop is portable, laptop computer. So here are some expense tracking apps. There's Fortune City, Ahorro, or CW Money. That middle one is Spanish for, what'd you say, Tom?
It means savings, basically.
So these are some apps. What I do, guys, I just download apps. I try them out. If I don't like it, I just delete it.
That's a good option there if you want to do something portable with your mobile phone. And with these, you can set spending targets and easily see if you're spending as much money as you'd planned to. So there's that pattern, as much as. Okay, so yeah, use those software programs or those apps to figure out where your money's going and if you're keeping within the budget. So here in the final paragraph it says, although expense tracking takes discipline, it doesn't have to be intimidating. Stick to it and gain control over your financial future. So yeah, it takes discipline. It takes self-control.
Yeah, but if you learn how to do this when you're young, especially, it will change your life. So good luck, guys. We encourage you to try this. And if you're fully grown and you have children, it doesn't matter. It's never too late to start tracking your expenses and watching your money and saving for the future. That's it, I guess. We're going to listen to our Chinese teacher one more time, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
当然专家比我们更了解啦，所以他有提出一个 basic guide。这个基本的准则呢，就是50、30、20法则。在英文当中，这种专门的方法，一种方法 method 或者是 approach approach 这个 approach 到底是什么呢？首先这个所谓的 50% 一定要花在必要的东西，例如 housing 租房子啊，买房子啊，水电设施啊，水电瓦斯，注意这个字叫做 utility 还有剩下的一些什么买杂货啊、交通啊，这个占50%，而30%呢，则是你的 wants。到底想要吃什么啊？买什么东西娱乐？剩下的20%，the remaining 20%，则是偿还债务啦，或者是存起来。那么接下来到底我们要怎么样记呢？其实有几种方法可以选择，好几种方法，我们想到很多大概会用 many， 可是文章当中用的这个字也蛮常见，叫做 numerous。第一种方法就是直接用纸笔来记，不过这个记呢，你大概会想用 write 或者是 take notes， 但是文章用了一个蛮正式的正式记录的动词，叫做 log。第二种呢，干脆用一种叫做 envelope system， 它是信封袋记账法。它是怎么做呢？我们来看这一段的第4句。You could also use the envelope system。 那么这个信封袋的记账法呢，是借由做一个动作 by putting the cash， 把现金放进去。现金要放到哪里呢？当然是放到信封里面咯。所以先行词其实是 the cash， 那么关系词从 you到后面的 category 这个地方，关带的 that 或者是 which 省略掉了。那么它限定这个现金是 you expect to spend on each category， 在每个类别期望会花的多少的现金。而动词这里的 put， 把现金放到哪里呢？跟着是后面的放到信封袋里 in its own envelope every month。那么第3种呢，则是数位的方法。如果你喜欢用电脑的，像是 Excel 啊，或者是 Google Sheet 提供的这种试算的表单，都可以让记账变得很简单。当然，最后一种就是我们平常用的手机，这是一种很便利的、很稀便的 portable 可携带的方式，也就是用一些 expense tracking app。expense tracking 在这边则指的是记账的形容词。不过我们要看一下这一段最后这一句第8句，在这里有一个 as much as 的句型。我们看到最后面 as much as 本来是和什么什么一样多，那这里的和呢是第2个 as。 那么我们现在提到的是和你所计划的钱花的那么多，所以在 much 后面会加上钱，因为前面是 you are spending money， 你花的是钱。 If you're spending as much money as you had planned to， 所以当然记账啦，就一定要自律啦，因为每天都要把花的钱记下来。做一件事情要花什么什么时间，或者是需要什么什么条件，在英文当中用 take 就可以了。那么自律呢，叫做 discipline。但是记账听起来很恐怖，并不代表会令人很胆怯哦，所以要坚持 stick to it。 那么这样子呢，才能够掌控你的财务未来。我是安娜，我们下次见咯。
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck in setting up a way to track your expenses, and hopefully you won't end up living on the poor farm. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.